Hello again, everyone that is subscribed, and hello to new people that just kind of tuned into this channel. Um, my voice tends to sound pretty monotone at the beginning of most of my recordings, but it tends to change depending on the gravity of the thing that I'm discussing. Mm, Generally, things tend to snowball a little bit because once I figure something out about one thing, I start thinking about another thing, and so on and so forth. Kind of, like I said, it kind of snowballs from there. So I'm not sure what direction or what path it's going to take me when I get started. It's not scripted, um, though, maybe it would be better if it was. I don't have the time to be scripting anything, but I wouldn't mind doing some video essays maybe in the future or something like that. Let me just get the quick, boring stuff out of the way first. I've noticed, I'm new to this whole YouTube thing, so based on the analytics that I'm seeing, people are watching my videos quite a bit. They're just not subscribing, strangely. But if you're one of those people that have stumbled across this, please subscribe. I want to see if I can make this thing grow into something a little more useful for anybody out there that has a PD of some kind or is just angry or bitter about a lot of other things going on in the world at the moment and just needs an outlet. They just want to hear somebody else be angry about things, and I'm pretty good at just getting upset, which isn't exactly a good marketable skill, but I don't know. I guess some people out there seem to enjoy that sort of thing. I'm one of those, to be honest. I listen to quite a few YouTubers and podcasts that tend to get a little more dicey and or angry, or a little black pilled sometimes. But that's because a lot of us feel that way right now, for a variety of reasons. I have my own reasons. I guess this channel is more of a schizoid perspective. But a lot of my thoughts may be shared by others in whatever variation that it may correlate or not. So like it, subscribe, whatever, tell your friends that like this sort of stuff, like the ranty kind of stuff. But most of all, leave a comment of some kind. I like the dynamic of just back and forth discussion on whatever topics I'm going over. It lets me mull over some new ideas on, or maybe change my perspective on a few things. I'm very open to some level of malleability as far as my thinking goes. I'm not as rigid as I may come across sometimes. Wait, today I want to talk about, and I think I touched on it briefly in a previous recording, but societal cohesion. It's something of great importance to me, and it's something that people just kind of take for granted or don't care about because of whatever issues they may be dealing with. And I understand why you wouldn't care about such a thing, because many of us, including myself, don't exactly feel like a regular integral part of the society. We live in a society, like that meme, but um, we don't feel like a significant or a portion of it that likes to take part in a lot of aspects of it. So the idea of perpetuating a society, or cohesion of a society that already does not include us, or we don't feel we feel alien to it for some of us, especially with the PDs and stuff. Uh, I want to try to argue that you should care to a degree, but to a certain degree, you should care. There's a good reason to care, which again is insanely ironic coming from a schizoid individual. The statement alone is almost like a paradox of sorts, right? So here's the point. Okay, so I do not give a shit about what people do in their homes, sexual orientations, choices made in life, all sorts of stuff that people have a moral reprehensibility toward or issues with. I don't give a shit personally about the vast majority of them. I would say like 98% of all that kind of stuff. I'm fairly just kind of liberal about just whatever. Any, as long as it's not affecting the individual rights of individuals. That's stupid, but you know what I mean. I could give a shit. I'm a very freedom-based kind of person because as somebody that's a little different, like, maybe some of you are listening too, the last thing we need is to have our individuality stifled even further than it already is. I mean, it's already bad enough as it is that you live within a neurotypical sort of framework, and you already have to kind of limit yourself because of that. But if that falls apart, then you start dealing with new sorts of problems, and they ain't pretty, that's for sure. Some part of me, when I was a bit younger, probably wanted to see the world burn. Wanted to see, chaos on the streets, rioting, the police force unable to restrain the population's rancor and anger and, pointless and unguided revolutions flying in every direction. The state coming down with martial law, like kind of an accelerationist perspective. I might have had something like that when I was a lot younger, because I felt so alien to everything. I didn't quite understand why or what it was that was making me so angry and frustrated with everyone. But yeah, I had a more accelerationist perspective on the world, a very cynical view of the future of mankind and humanity. I just didn't care if it all fell apart and went to war and everyone died and nuclear bombs went off and we all got, incinerated. Like all of that kind of stuff just seemed like a pleasant end to the human race, as the vast majority of its actions and um, the motivating factors that caused human beings to kind of like do what they do and work toward what they work for, like power and things like that, were kind of confusing to me, the way they would do them and the way they would achieve those goals, and the stuff people wanted to complete upon their inevitable death. Like a lot of that sort of stuff kind of made no sense to me. So I just figured, well, why would I feel bad about all of this just burning up and going to a crisp, right? So, and a lot of the stuff I'm about to say is very hyperbolic. It's just it's more associated to my own frustrations, not necessarily, absolute truths about anything, because I don't believe in those necessarily. So, the reason societal cohesion is of such great importance is because the monkeys need their cages. The monkeys need the gerbils need their paths. The animals need their preserve area that they can function under, that have the berries and fruits that they like, and but still with barriers and still with a certain level of structure, hierarchy almost, because in all of earthly life, animals generally have a system of hierarchy. It's just not always the case, but it's generally the case, especially with mammals. Uh, there's almost always some form of hierarchy, some form of routine, some norms that are established within the tribe or the flock, the whatever you would call an amalgamation of humans, I guess, the society. And what's hilarious is that as someone that's schizoid, a lot of those things don't make too much sense to me, especially because they're intrinsically tied to emotional, like landscapes of moral outrage or moral questions. Sometimes they're tied to things like religion or emotional arguments, like I always mention. And though they make absolutely no sense to me, and a lot of them are highly inefficient, a lot of the things actually inhibit, scientific progress or inhibit pragmatic, realistic legislation. in the name of, not hurting feelings or not upsetting the status quo, or just a lot of those sort of things. I hear a lot of arguments on the internet about, oh, take this down, take that down, defund this, destroy that, re upholster all of society into a new thing, and all these kind of really kind of radical perspectives on what should be done with humanity and the direction it should be taking. And what a lot of the times people forget when they have these kind of utopias in mind is they always forget just trying to establish some kind of cohesion within the individuals that you're trying to find some kind of change with or progress of any kind. And oftentimes these utopian ideals in either direction, whether you're talking, a complete anarchist state, or you're talking a complete communist state, or you're talking an anarcho-capitalist, or you're talking a ethno-nationalist utopia, whatever utopian perspective you have for humanity, it's never gonna fucking work. And that's because the monkeys need their cages. They need their path. They need their areas that they're restricted to not step into. Because generally, I find that human beings aren't all that selfless or altruistic. They're generally pretty savage in their actions, very ego lifting, um, material gaining, power grabbing sort of actions. A lot of it masked with, caring and um, altruistic behavior and things like that. I don't think most of humanity is like, inherently evil or anything like that, but I think most of it is cowardly and fearful and afraid of change, afraid of just new things, new thoughts, things that might shift paradigms or things that might alter reality for themselves, because it's really difficult to adapt and readjust to a change in reality, um, unless you implement some kinds. A lot of this sort of stuff, they're taking advantage of the situation. I'm not trying to argue whether, oh, COVID is this or COVID is that. I don't care to argue that right now. What I'm arguing is the power grabs that are occurring within our societies, that are something definitely to look at. And they're fully aware that we need these social norms to function, and that by removing them, they start crumbling around us. Like the cohesion starts crumbling around us. Human beings start turning on each other. They become paranoid. They become angry, becoming agitated. Because they don't get to spend time with the primates they want to spend time with. And I'm a primate as well. I'm not saying like I'm not, because I definitely am. If anything, I'm a primate with a misfiring brain. But um, my point is that people don't remain reasonable and rational when their norms are taken apart or inhibited in some significant way. Because, the reason I bring up these COVID sort of restrictions and 6 feet apart and all that sort of stuff is because, yeah, personally, I fucking love it. Right? I love not having to go out very much. I love having an excuse for there's no parties, there's no get-togethers, there's no family events, there's nothing of that kind. All that stuff makes me really fucking glad, because I hate all that shit. I'm with you if you feel that way. I hated all that shit. You go to a party, you sit down, you feel like trash because you don't want to talk to anyone there. Everyone's fucking just jammering on about whatever personal life things are occurring with them. A lot of the time it's just attention seeking, or they need their emotions somehow validated or fulfilled, and then you just have to hear these stories being told. Some stories you've heard, some you haven't. It's just a bunch of stuff going on at once that it makes little to no sense to someone like me, or maybe other people that have similar ways of thinking. um, but regardless of all that, regardless of how just insane it all feels and how stupid and pointless a lot of that stuff feels, it's still important. It's still important that it exists for the purpose of having a functional, stable human society. because I need one as a person who has children, as a husband. If you have anyone you do care about, that you do love, and if you're schizoid, that's a hard one, because not a lot of us love very many people or care about people enough to love them. But generally I feel like at least there's one or two people, even a schizoid's life, that they do care about. Maybe they don't want to spend every day with them. Maybe they don't want to be around them all the time or something like that. That's not how I feel about my own, my wife and my children or anything. But that's how other people may feel about, other friends or family members that they have, that they care about them, but they don't necessarily want to spend all this time with them. So they like, these changes that have occurred. They argue in favor of these lockdowns and stuff like that because it's kind of beneficial to them. I hear people say stuff like, "Oh, it's great. I'm introverted, so this is awesome." You see the memes about, "Oh, introverts during COVID. Oh, this is the life," all that kind of stuff. Yeah, some of us function that way extremely well, but we're a vast minority. We're a very small minority. And when you get people that are not like myself and not either avoidant or, just people that actually like to socialize often and like to be a part of society and like to have these small talk conversations and like to go to the parties and go to the events and go to the this and care about trends and whatever, all that stuff that I find completely asinine and just totally boring. That stuff keeps stuff together a little bit. It makes things feel normal for the vast majority of kind of neurotypical individuals. Um, and I need them to feel okay, because when they stop feeling okay is when their emotions become out of control. It's when their emotions are no longer restricted by any kind of uh, rational sense, because a lot of these social norms allow for people to have a box that they can work within. And if you open up the box, shit goes flying everywhere. And I don't want to get hit by all that shit being flung. Too much shit flung just in every direction. And I don't need me or my family to be hit by it. Because if things get that crazy, I have no issue with defending my family and just killing a motherfucker. No problems. But I would hate to live in a world in which that is the case. And that's what upsets me so fucking much. Like, everyone keeps talking about this, like, the fear of this disease, the protection. We need to lock down to keep everyone safe, to keep everyone this. We need to do this. The psychological fucking damage that you're doing to the vast majority of society by doing these sort of fucking restrictions, and the amount of death and destruction this is going to eventually cause if we keep going, whether it's suicides because people are stuck at home that can't be stuck at home with, say, an abuser or something like that, or whether it's murders, domestic violence, just cabin fever of some kind. You've seen all these people on various social media platforms look like, they seemed okay before all this, and they look like they're fucking losing their goddamn minds because they have nothing else. They're losing everything that gives them a sense of meaning or identity or whatever the fuck they want to call it. I can't have that happen. And I know a lot of you can't have that happen. And even if you're somebody that's like, "Oh, I just want to stay in my fucking basement and everyone leave me alone, everyone go away, and I just want to play my computer games, and I don't want to talk to anyone, or I just want to do my art, or I just want to read my books, and I don't need anyone in my life." Even you guys, if any of you are like that, even you guys need this shit to work. This kind of, polite world, the civility to function, because then you will live in a world where you can no longer even do that. I mean, a lot of people like to envision, real acceleration. It's like everything goes crazy, and it's like, And it's like Joaquin Phoenix Joker, and it's so romantic and it's so cool, and yeah, I mean, fictional in a fantasy kind of setting or something, just a dream. Yeah, it sounds awesome. It sounds really fun. It sounds crazy. All this rampant violence against tyranny or whatever you wanna, whatever your target is, but it doesn't look like that. I'm a guy who studied history for many years. It never looks like that. It's always just innocent people dying. It's always people like you and me that want to be left the fuck alone, that just want to do what it is we do with the people we care about, that just want a stable life. Nothing glamorous, nothing crazy, not seeking power or fame or any of that stuff. If you're seeking all that stuff, good on you. I don't care. But point is, a lot of us introverts or whatever, we're not looking for any of that stuff. We're not looking for all this. The most some of us are looking for is some kind of sense of validation from the people we care about, or a little more extended than that, depending, I guess, on the type of person you are. But that's all we're looking for, not looking for glamour and riches. But even those people, everything comes apart for you too. Everything comes apart. You being left alone, you having the ability to be left alone, is gone. When people can break in your home, people burn down your home, when people start looting and rioting and going fucking bananas on the goddamn streets, all that, your introverted lifestyle that you're really enjoying right now because of the lockdown or whatever, if you are enjoying it, if you hate it, it's a different story. But my point is, that's not a good argument, because this is taking an emotional and psychological toll on all the fucking normies. And I don't like the fucking normies. I don't like them. I'm with you on that, if that's how you feel. I don't like them. I don't like normie television. I don't like normie bullshit. I get it. You may dabble in it in your own ways. I do too. There's some stuff I like and don't like. Cherry pick all you like. Point is, if all this sort of stuff starts coming apart and all the normies they go off the deep end, it's not going to be fun and games. It's not going to be, Harley Quinn and Joker, good times, It's not going to be League of Legends Jinx. It's not going to be any of that stuff. It's going to be fucking horrible. It's not going to be cool Mad Max, cool Apocalypse, Zombie Apocalypse, Walking Dead. Yeah, it's going to be all the parts in Walking Dead, but without the zombies. Just shitty people doing horrible fucking shit to each other. So, I don't think most of us want any of that bullshit, because they romanticize it and they think they're going to be some cool post-apocalyptic warrior survivalist. But think about it. How many of you more introverted fucking, people that just don't like dabbling or taking part in most of human society, if you're like that, or just angry at it or bitter, how many of you really want to see fucking the world on fire and your doorsteps on fire as well, and you can no longer do the things that bring you any kind of joy or enjoyment, as little as they may be, whether it's music or art, whatever it is. It doesn't have to be people. God knows people don't generally give me enjoyment, so I understand that. And even if you don't have a family, or you don't have kids, or you don't plan on it, or whatever, you don't know what's going to happen in your life. You don't know what's going to change. You don't know who you may or may not fall in love with. You don't know what decisions you may make that can alter your behavior or decisions right now in the present. But the issue is this: if this sort of stuff continues, and we sit there enjoying, this new normal, because we feel so good about the fact that we're introverts, so this is nice for us. We get to stay home. Pay attention to the people around you that you care about. Are they enjoying this? Are they all taking it well? Are they feeling, all this depression that everyone keeps talking about because of it? And if you don't have anyone now, you don't know who you're going to have later. I mean, yeah, you're probably going to have, maybe some of you have a very cynical perspective about what's going to happen in your life because of your PD or whatever issues you might be dealing with, but you don't know what alterations may occur. And if this sort of social dismantling, and whether you're doing it because of lockdown and fear of disease, or if you're doing it because of political reasons or ideological reasons that you want to destroy norms or destroy any kind of status quo or whatever. I mean, if we're talking a status quo that's corrupt and is damaging individual freedoms, then that's one thing. That's a different conversation. But if you're just talking about stuff like, oh, what average American believes it is to be American, what the average American, because I'm an American, the average American believes, about capitalism or about, because each state has its own individual culture. But if you're all about kind of dismantling that culture, it's not going to look pretty. It's going to get fucking horrible. When you let the monkeys out of their cages, they go fucking crazy, man. It's hard enough to reason with them to begin with, like, without having to use emotional arguments. But at that point, there's nothing you can do. Now you could at least keep to yourself. So, I'm not saying go be a fucking activist. I'm not saying go spread the word of social cohesion and, establishing or upholding, some level of civility amongst human beings. No, I'm not saying go do all that crazy stuff, but just give a little bit of a shit. Not because you really care about all the stuff they care about. Not because of that. That's not why. Because that's not why I care. I care because I want to be left the fuck alone and have a safe and good time with the few people, the few human beings I was able to connect with and care about. And if you don't want to connect with anybody, that's fine too. That's not your thing, or you never were able to do that, and that's not something it's not a goal in your life. That's fine too. But know that if society crumbles, you won't even be able to do that anymore. You're gonna have to socially interact because they're gonna get in your fucking face. And if you're not prepared for that, good luck. You ain't fucking living. They're not gonna give a shit about your PD. They're not gonna give a shit about, oh, you're agoraphobic, or you're claustrophobic, or you're paranoid, or you're you need medication, you need this, you need that to help you stable, you have anxiety, you have depression, all that kind of stuff that a lot of us currently take medication for, or therapy, or whatever it is that lets you get comfort, whether it's just hiding in your room and playing video games, or whatever it is that helps you get through the day because you decide you want to still keep getting through the day. That stuff will not be available to you. That's what you need to get through your fucking head. Think about that deeply. Because I'm tired. I'm tired of hearing people make all these fucking ridiculous, statements about, oh, I want to watch everything burn. Oh, I can't wait because I don't give a fuck about nothing, no one. I can't wait to... All the things that we enjoy, even as complete shut-ins, hermits, even if you fucking hate just people, but you love things like me, you love, like, art, and you love stories and you love literature and you love science and you love, like, you really like that stuff a lot, whether love or not, but you know what I mean. That's the kind of stuff that lets you wake up in the morning and there's something interesting to do and look at, like the aspects of humanity that are actually kind of enjoyable. All that will also not be available to you. Social breakdown means no internet, means no easily available food, means no polite society, means no social norms. And trust me, I get it. Because if you've listened to any of the other fucking videos I've talked about, the frustration of having to mask, of having to fucking create this persona just to be able to function within most of society when you're trying to work, when you're trying to go to school, when you're trying to do anything outside of just stay home, or stay home with some of the people that know how you are and can respect it. All that's going to be like 100 times more difficult in a world where we can't even be safe from one another to a minimal level. So that's all really I wanted to say about that. I mean, leave some comments, subscribe if you like me. If you don't fucking like me and just want to leave fucking comments telling me I'm a stupid fucking idiot, that's cool too. Subscribe for that. Downvote me, whatever. But talk to me. Am I wrong about this? Am I wrong to think this? Is there such a disconnect between wanting just a society to function on a basic level? I'm not saying everything's great, but just wanting a society to function on a basic level? Or is there a disconnect between being a complete introvert like myself, but still not wanting these like perpetual lockdowns or perpetual destruction of things like, you know, having a meal with your family, Thanksgiving, basic shit like that, your kids being able to go to school, all the damage that's causing to them, not being able to socialize. Like, actually giving a shit. Is there a disconnect between giving a shit about normies being able to have a functional working society that allows you to be generally left the fuck alone? At least you have the option of occasionally being left the fuck alone. And being someone that is schizoid like me, are those two things so contradictory that they can't exist within the same philosophical position or world view? You tell me. I'd love to get your opinions on this. So next time I'll get into some more, maybe lighten it up a little bit, or maybe go into something more specific. Go into stuff that, someone like myself has to deal with on a daily basis. But this is something I just wanted to say. I felt like it was important. Maybe it was boring. Sorry if I bored. Nah, I'm not sorry if I bored you. I don't give a fuck if I bored you. That's stupid. That's not the point of doing this. I'm not here to be a fucking dancing clown. But last thing, again, fucking subscribe or whatever. Do it if you actually listen to this whole fucking thing and you want to listen to more stupid shit like this. Just hit the fucking button, and that way, I know that people are listening, and then you can leave a comment, and then I can say some stuff that maybe you're interested in too. Okay? That way I don't just fucking ramble on about the dumb shit I only care about. Unless that's what you want to hear, then fuck it. I'll just keep doing that kind of dumb bullshit. But point is, click on the goddamn stupid button that is right there. All right. Thanks.